Okay, so let's go ahead and create our first image idea using Photoshop. So I'm going to click Create New in Photoshop. Let's go ahead and select the Print preset, and then I'm going to make sure 300 is selected for the resolution. For the width, I'm going to make sure that inches is selected for the unit and type in our dimensions, which for this assignment is 8.25 for the width and 10.75 for the height. Okay, that all looks good. For the first image direction, I'm going to use a portrait. It's one of the oldest tricks in the book when it comes to magazine covers. It's because portraits are always really engaging. Portraits also usually apply to just about any topic. So no matter what topic you're doing, there's a good chance that human beings are part of that topic. Since I'm doing a news magazine, I went ahead and just selected a image of kind of a younger person. Again, this is targeted towards younger people. And, I found this on Unsplash. I don't know who this person is. That's one thing I want to stress for this assignment, is that you're allowed to be a little more fictional with your stories. So, if you're doing a music magazine, don't feel like you have to go out and find an image of an actual artist. Maybe you just want to find an image that could be an artist, and you can create some sort of story around that person. Because it can be really constraining sometimes to have to work with exactly the images, that are part of your story. So don't be afraid to just sort of make up a story around whatever image you find. That's totally fine for this assignment. Again, we're not creating a real magazine. We mostly want to capture the style of what the magazine would look like. Okay, so I'm going to take this portrait and cut him out of his background. So let me go ahead and just drag this image into our document. Okay, and when you do that, you're going to get the transform tool. I'm going to zoom out a little bit and just stretch this to just kind of give me the right size. And I want this portrait to be pretty big, so I'm going to go about like that and then just apply that transformation. Okay, here we go. So in order to cut out this particular portrait, I think the select and mask tool will work pretty well. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on any of the selection tools, go up to select and mask, and then let's just work with the quick selection tool to make a really quick selection here. There we go. And then I'm holding on Option to deselect that area where we don't want it to select. Let's zoom in a little bit. We can just shrink down our brush, and again, just kind of deselect in there. You don't want to spend too much time with select and mask. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now let's go back over it with our refine edge tool. Okay, so this is going to allow us to just refine those edges a bit. Particularly in situations like this beard. Okay, and we probably actually want to brush this in. This is pretty far off. So just get a little bit closer on that. And then we can use our refine edge tool and just pick up a little bit more of that beard. There we go. And it's actually not doing a very good job in that area. So let's go back and again, just sort of select a little bit more of that. Okay, and then we can go back over it again. That looks a little bit better. Okay, and it's struggling with just that little zone there, so we're gonna have to help out that area. Just do it a little more manually. There we go. Okay. We'll just take out any parts that don't belong and select any parts that we do belong. So, that's just kind of the way you work with select and mask. It's a little bit of the refine edge tool and a little bit of manual selection with the brush tool as well. Okay, let's grab the brush tool again. I want to select a little bit more on this hat. Just kind of clean that up a bit. Okay. And, using the pen tool for this hat would be another good way to do it. It might actually be a little bit better for this particular situation, but let's stick with select and mask. Okay, and then we'll just cut out, again, a few of these areas where it just struggled a little bit to get it right. Okay. Okay, there we go. So there actually is this little strap kind of on the bottom. I think I'll leave that out. I'll just go with the actual sweater. Okay. There we go. So that's not perfect, but it's pretty close. We got pretty cleaned up there. That looks pretty good. Okay, so lastly, I'm just going to go ahead and output that to a selection. Click OK. Okay, so now we have my selection, and then I can create a layer mask using that selection. Okay, so with this layer highlighted, create a layer mask, and now he's cut out from the background. Okay, so right off the bat, one nice advantage to cutting someone out is that we have a lot of clean space where we can put our typography or anything else that we want to put on our cover. It's one of the reasons why cutting people out of their background or shooting portraits on a really clean background is really popular for magazines. Okay, so let's go ahead and put a new background in. One thing we could do is just use a solid color. So I'm going to create a solid color adjustment layer, and we could pick something from his kind of jacket. He has a little bit of pink in his patch here, so I could go ahead and work with that pink. That could be an interesting look. I think a more interesting look for this particular topic is to use the American flag. Okay, so remember, I'm doing a news magazine, and I don't know what this story is of this person. Again, I'm kind of making that up. But when you layer, something with a lot of symbolism and meaning behind a portrait, it sort of takes it to another level. Okay, so I downloaded this flag from Wikipedia. Let's just go ahead and drag that in. Okay, so there's some different ways we could position this. We could blow it up and make it really big. We could have it just be over part of the image. Okay, that could be a pretty good look. There's also sort of a diagonal that's happening here with the way he's looking. So maybe we sort of play with that diagonal and put the flag at that angle as well. We could potentially go really big on it if I zoom out. Okay, so there's a few different things we could do. Maybe we get just a little bit of, that blue area. Okay, or maybe we get even larger and just go super big. The American flag is so, it's so iconic that you can recognize it even from just like a little part of it. Okay, so you can definitely play around with this more, but you can see that we're creating a more interesting story than just the portrait on its own. Let's go ahead and resize the portrait up a bit because I feel like it could get larger. Again, since this is the kind of main story of our magazine, we want that to be pretty big and to really have a lot of prominence in the layout. Okay, so maybe we go with something kind of like that. Then the last thing I want to do is make some adjustments to the portrait itself, because it feels like the portrait is a little dark and almost a little yellow in terms of color balance compared to the flag. Not that the flag is a photo, so it doesn't really have a color balance, but I feel like it'll match a little bit better if we adjust the color balance and make it a little bit cooler. So I'm going to select that portrait, and then I'm going to go and use the camera raw filter. Okay, and then we'll just turn our color balance a little bit in the blue direction, maybe desaturate just a bit, add some contrast, and just brighten it up a little bit by adding whites. But again, this is going to depend on your situation. My situation, I just want to just get a little bit more of a graphic look to this. So I'm going to add some clarity as well. There we go. And that feels like it's matching a little bit better with the flag. Okay, so that is one really simple direction done. Once we add a headline into this, it'll make more sense as a story. But for now, I'm just focused more on the image and on the magazine look and feel as a whole.